Hi, James Hayes, Don's Appliances. Today I'm with Rob Sobek, also Don's Appliances, and today we wanted to talk a little bit about maybe price versus value, and maybe not all things being created equal, but what are some things are equal and what you're getting for spending that little bit of extra money on an appliance here or there. So, what are your thoughts on that, Rob?
Way to lead into it, James. So James is a born-again car salesman,
Yes.
and the sentence that he used was, say it again.
Your best price is not always your best value.
Right. So we have customers that walk in every day that it's anywhere from, I saw this 1999 package on your website, to I have no budget.
Sure.
And everything in between. So coming into an appliance store and spending as much as possible isn't necessarily going to equate to you being the happiest or enjoying your appliances the most or for the longest time.
Sure.
Like a lot of times you can definitely pay a luxury tax for a logo, for a color, for a knob style, for a handle style, for the way a door opens, things like that.
Sure.
So equating price with value isn't necessarily fair. And so when a customer walks in, just retail, they're replacing an appliance. Mm-hmm. We'll say it's a refrigerator. When they walk in, other than dimensions and color, what's that thing that they always happen to say?
Which one's going to last the longest?
Yes, and the answer is?
They're all pretty close to the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's a point where, yes, there are a handful of brands out there that will last longer. However, the price to that, the price tag that is associated with said brands probably is going to equal out to the same cost over a span of time. Mm-hmm. So you're looking more like spending the same amount of money, but you just replace less often. So there's that aspect of it. But if we take a category like refrigeration is a big one.
A perfect one, yeah.
Yeah, so you can get a refrigerator starting $600-700 now. It's going to be your basic top mount refrigerator. No crazy food preservation going on inside of it. It is cold, keeps food cold, and you'll probably get a 5 to 10 year lifespan out of them on average. But then on the other end, there's other brands on freestanding refrigeration you can spend almost $6,000 on. Mm-hmm. Also going to have a 5 to 10 year lifespan.
Right.
So what are you getting for that extra money?
A little bit of dress up, maybe some chrome trim, maybe some extra cubic feet, maybe an extra ice maker, maybe lights. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be, maybe a better warranty.
Yeah.
We'll say that, but outside of that, it's not going to equate to a longer life.
No, but where you will see maybe a return on your value there is food preservation systems are big. And that's, there are certain brands out there that are maybe putting iPads in the door, the special lights that you can knock on and see the inside of them, and that's there and that's neat. And but along with those features, there's something like dual evaporators and dual compressors, mm-hmm. And those really are going to equate to a longer lifespan, keeping separate humidity in there, and longer lifespan in the sense of food.
Right.
So food preservation. So
mm-hmm.
to be clear, so you're throwing out less food as you go along.
Right, and there's a brand that we carry that originated the whole dual refrigeration system.
Yeah.
And, to be conservative, typically when I'm talking to a customer, and this was straight from the mouths of the guys at the factory,
yeah.
But being conservative, saving about $2,000 a year in food is completely realistic. Changing from a freestanding of any brand into their built-in refrigerator, mm-hmm. It's conservative saying they're going to save $2,000 a year in food.
Sure.
So we can speak that language in the way of numbers.
Absolutely, and if you look at it, the price tags associated with that brand, you're probably $14,000 on a refrigerator, but if you save $2,000 a year, and that brand is generally 20 to 30 years, mm-hmm. you will make your money back on that just food savings alone.
And that's how we see an appliance as being an investment opposed to just a luxury item. In some cases, It really can pay for itself, whether it be a washing machine that is going to start remotely and you don't have to run it and worry about stuff sitting there. There's a fan that'll begin the drying process, things like that. But whenever it comes to value versus price, now moving into cooking, we did another pod that we talked about ranges are coming back. So where do you see the price difference jumping in ranges, mm-hmm. and why, and is it worth it?
Moving into a pro range, they are built better. So you're not getting into. It could be a dumb issue, like a knob breaks on, like you have a $1,200 range, and then 8 years down the road you have a knob break and you can't get a replacement to it. So do you use a wrench to try to turn your gas range on, or or do you just buy a new one? And that's realistically where you are at after 7 years.
We've definitely had that before too.
And then this is really crazy. You spend a lot more to get less features on some of these things. If you look at some of your brands out there. Wolf is an example. They start at I think $6,700 for a 30-inch gas range. Pretty low on the feature and technology side. It's the most basic range ever, but that's why it goes 20 to 30 years, because you're not having all the Wi-Fi, all the electronics and stuff going on the side of it. So it's a trade-off maybe in some instances, but generally a lot of those brands that are negating that, there's usually a higher price point associated with them, but build quality is there too. So you see some of those brands going 15, 20, 25 years versus replacing it every 5 to 10, which in all fairness is the average lifespan of an appliance today.
Right.
So there are some, like dishwashers is a category where I tell people all the time, it's spending an exponential amount more on a dishwasher doesn't necessarily translate to a longer lifespan. Wash performance, quietness, things like that. Features like internal LED lighting, Wi-Fi, so you'll get notifications when the dishwasher's done, things like that. Sure, but an $800 dishwasher and most $2,000 plus dishwashers are going to have a very similar lifespan. There's one brand out there that advertises 20-year lifespans and stuff, and those I feel are generally worth an investment into it. But in general, I feel like if you're spending more than $2,000 and it doesn't have a certain name on there,
you're just throwing money away.
Exactly.
And there's appliance nerds on the internet that have been doing this much longer than us and selling appliances much longer than us. And realistically, it equated to, if you're spending more than, I think the number a couple of years ago was like $10.99 or something arbitrary, I don't remember. But it was like, you get to this decibel rating and you get to this dollar amount. If it isn't this brand, don't buy it. You know what I mean? And it's just, so that's really where it ends up. And it's, a lot of them wash very similarly. You can see some differences in drying for sure.
Oh, sure.
And extra features like you said. But at the end of the day, when it comes to a unit like a dishwasher, that really is it's a luxury item. It is not a necessity like a refrigerator or a washing machine. Going overboard with it, typically it's a feature they gotta have, or a logo they've gotta have.
Yes.
So
100%, and that's and there's definitely certain brands out there that brand loyalists is, this is what I want, and they'll pay whatever for it. But at the end of the day, most of those brands are going to have the same reliability, same lifespan as most of the other ones out there.
It's few and far between. There aren't large spreads. There are certain categories, and the spread is what it is, and it's not that much different moving brand to brand. But if you're interested in cheap, expensive, good value, bad value, whatever the case may be, you can talk to myself or James, set up an appointment to meet us down here at Cannonsburg, or go online to donsappliances.com.